Cross columns like these are very commonly used in industrial buildings where architectural requirements or other technological constraints might disallow the use of vertical bracings on one side or in one direction of the structure. So in those cases, we need to frame the structure in both directions. And since normal I-beams are weak in one direction, what you end up doing is using these cross columns, which are composed of an I profile and two T profiles which are welded to the I profile, as shown over here. Now, in those cases, once again, obviously these types of columns need to have their own stiffeners. And the stiffener command in Comosys is very well adjusted for such situations. The biggest advantage we have with Comosys is that these elements can be modeled as a single ID rather than three different IDs of one I-beam and two T profiles, in which case it will be difficult to create those stiffeners. But in Comosys, since they are one single ID, all you need to do is select the stiffener command, select your column, show it a point, for example, let's say DZ minus 100 over here, and right click, and immediately the stiffeners are created. As you can see, these are four stiffeners rather than one, because there are four areas which need to be stiffened separately. So in one command, we end up creating four different stiffeners for this column, which makes life extremely easy for the 3D modeler. Now, once again, as we know that the stiffener command also works for sloped stiffeners. So let's see what that can do. So we can select a point along the column over here, and let's select another point over here. And now what we have is slightly sloped stiffeners. All these are sloped. All the four stiffeners on the sides of the columns have been sloped according to those points. This really makes the job of the detailer much easier. Now, sometimes these columns are used with the T only in one direction and not in both directions. These could have different reasons, but even if we have a case like this, where there's a single I which is welded to a single T, we can still use the stiffener command, just like we normally do. We can hover over a point, press enter, DZ minus 100, right click, and now we have three stiffeners created. This stiffener is the normal stiffener shape on this side of the I-beam, and the other side of the I-beam has these two stiffeners which are accommodating the T on the other side. And like we discussed for the normal cross column, here also we can have the sloped stiffeners. So I can have my slope stiffener like that, and I'll have a slope stiffener on the I side and two slope stiffeners on the other side of the column. This really makes things extremely easy for creating the stiffeners for these complicated cross columns, which are very common in industrial buildings.